Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Goddarici and I'm going to be talking about media bias and emergent media. So when you read or you go on the news or something, you can spot it and you're able to read between the lines. I think us discussing media literacy in general and being able to decipher those messages from media is so important, especially today and especially in our polarized political atmosphere where the media wants you to believe certain messages. So we're going to be talking about 8 different key points of media bias, and we're going to be starting it off with the spin. So the spin, that's a form of propaganda. It's misleading. It has dramatic words to replace the simple ones. So for example, when people say a crucial, stern talking over an event, but really it was like nothing that big, that's putting a spin on it. So even though it wasn't that big, now we believe it is because they made it sound important. Another is unsubstantiated claims coming at 2. So this is the media asserting something to be true, but there's no proof to back it up. So you could find this in the headline of an article, nice and big, or maybe in the body of a paragraph, but it could be a claim that something happened, especially negative, and if you don't see any evidence involved, then it's probably media bias and you should probably look into that. Next, at 3, we have opinion statements that are presented as a fact. So when a media outlet presents an article as like a factual news piece, it could have subjective statements. So a subjective statement is something like a personal opinion, an assumption, or an interpretation of something. It reflects like the writer's view of reality. So for example, in saying President Trump's unblemished presidency, that might be the writer's reality, but to other people, it might not be the same. So next we come at sensationalism at number 4. So a sensation is something that you feel. It's emotional. It's a type of media bias where information is presented in a way that gives a shock or like a deep impression. So they use language that's very dramatic, but it could be very vague. So for example, in saying the woman exploded with anger, she very well could have been like a tad bit snippy or just like visibly a little bit irritated, but she didn't explode with anger, but it provokes a stronger reaction from the audience when it's put in that type of way. So that's sensationalism, it's feeling, it's emotion, it's bigger. So at 5, this is one of my favorites, you guys see it all the time, I'm sure, is mudslinging. Just from the word, it's throwing dirt at someone. It's when insulting things are made about someone with the objective just to hurt their reputation. So it's usually to attack someone's character instead of like the argument or the idea that they're bringing. So for example, in 1912, I thought this was crazy. Teddy Roosevelt called William Taft a, quote, fathead with the brains of a guinea pig, closed quote. He portrayed him as tiny-brained, and that's not looked up to in office. So at 6, we have mind reading. So this is literally just when the media assumes that they can look at a person and read their mind. So in saying Nancy Pelosi's enormous hatred for looking ridiculous, you can't measure the amount of hate that someone has for looking for ridiculous, so you can't read someone's mind. That's media bias. Next, we have 7, a slant. So a slant is a type of media, it's just like cherry picking. It's just picking at tiny bits of information. So next time that you see a video that seems very short and cut out, it's very possible that they're leaving out very important variables because the slant is meant to pick at little bits of info so that it leans towards their political or just their opinion agenda. And now at 8, we have flawed logic. This is simply arriving to a conclusion without having like a premise to back it up. So in saying, quote, First Lady Melania refused to shake Clinton's hand, but what could have happened was that she was just too far away and they couldn't shake their hands at the time. So those are my 8 key points of media bias in the media. Keep your guys' eyes peeled. Really, it is so important right now with all the craziness going on, especially examine, decode, and come to your own perspective of reality. Have a good day, everyone.